What's up, everybody? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and if you remember from watching pretty much anything on this channel or some of the stuff I've mentioned in the past, you'll know I'm a Final Fantasy XIV player, and I've been a Final Fantasy XIV player since the closed alpha of 1.0. I remember playing it back in early 2010, and then I played a bit of the beta for 1.0. Then I played 1.0 when it came out. It was absolute shite, and yeah, we all know how that went down in history. And then towards the end of 1.0, I picked it up again just to see what the deal was, but at that point, it was going down shortly, so I just said, fuck it. Played until the end of 1.0, which was only a couple of weeks or like 2 months or something at that point. I can't even remember. And then I got in on the 2.0 alphas, the 2.0 betas. There was, I think, 2 closed alphas, maybe 1. And there was like up to 4 closed betas. And I've been playing 2.0 ever since, and well, 3.0 ever since as well, ever when Heaven's Word came out earlier this year. And I've had my gripes with the game. There's been numerous valid complaints as well as invalid complaints around on all the different forums, from all the different stuff that had been added, not been added, been limited, been hit with limitations, this, that, and the other, stupid design decisions, stupid design choices, stupid production stuff, directorial stuff, just absolutely everything. I mean, there's a lot of positive and negative stuff in basically every aspect of it anyway. But the main thing that has finally hit it for me is that I am just no longer interested in anything the game has to offer for the moment. So with that, as of 4 days ago, I have decided to quit Final Fantasy XIV. And what I did was I cancelled my subscription on last Saturday, just a couple of days ago. And because I still have a couple of days left on my subscription, I think I've maybe like 4 days left on my subscription at this point, I still haven't even bothered logging in. A perfect example is last week. Usually we go through the same motions. We'd go in, I say we, I mean just most people in general. You'd log in, you'd cap your esoteric tomes over the course of the week. You would probably raid Alexander normal and get all 4 individual parts you wanted, and then if you had a group, you'd hit Alexander Savage, and chances are most of you would go through either Savage 1 and 2 and then stop at 3, or maybe you were good enough to do 3 and 4 even, and you would go from there. And at that point, most people would just log out for the rest of the week, and because there's pretty much nothing to do at that point. So the fact is that because of all that, and when Heaven's Word finally launched earlier this year in June, it really, I had made a video previous to that I was kind of unhappy with the game, the situation, but I was holding off because obviously with a first major expansion just around the corner at the time, I was willing to put up with it a little bit more, just to hold off until all that stuff would just come flooding in anyway. And Heaven's Word really did. It really invigorated the game and reinvigorated my love for the game for a few weeks, which is where the problem starts to hit again. So between the launch of Heaven's Word and the staggered release of some of the content, by the time 1 month had passed and all the original launch content was actually available, and then the fact that there was basically another 4 months between a patch, and that's really, really grinding on me. As well as there's so many reasons, so many other things that have been added within the first month of Heaven's Word content that has just been so negative for not just myself, but so negative for myself, but just the community in general. There's so few people crafting, so few people gathering compared to what there used to be, simply because of the red script system. I know a lot of people aren't even raiding Alexander Savage when they have a group to, like the groups just don't feel like doing it anymore, and there's people that aren't even doing normal anymore. I mean, for alt classes or whatever, there's people who aren't even leveling up the other jobs simply because they just can't be bothered anymore. There's people who don't cap their esoterics anymore simply because they've just given up on that stuff. So that's just to mention some of the problems. I mean, 2 expert dungeons for 5 months is a bit of a grind in itself. The fact that they've already announced that in patch 3.1, which is releasing a few days from now, on the 10th of November, is that that's only going to have 2 more dungeons. And I know they're adding other types of content, like what's it called, the airship exploration thing. But when you read all the details for that, it just sounds like its own kind of clusterfuck, and it's probably going to end up all over the forums that it'll just be Hunts 2.0 or 3.0, whatever you want to call it, because technically you have original Hunts, and then you have Hunts again when Heavensward came out, so I would call those ones 2.0. This will basically be like maybe 2.5 or 3.0, whatever you want to call it, and I can just see it going down very negatively. Since it was first announced and some of the details first came out about the airship exploration, there'd already been significant worry and significant, caution because of how the game and all the developer decisions will affect this kind of content, as well as the people know better. And we already know that what this style and type of content is going to make the player base do and act, and we all know that that's going to be a bad thing. I'm not going to get too much into detail about it, but all that compounded with so many other bad decisions and so many other technical limitations and all. I mean, at the end of 2015, I will give them 1 plus point. It's only really a half plus point. Is the EU servers are now actually in the EU as of, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. But the problem, again, they only get a half point. It should have been done from release 2 years ago, not over 2 years of complaining to actually get it done. So yeah, it's, they only get a half mark for that. But there was one other point I was going to make, but I don't really remember. Oh, yeah, now I do. I know the fact that quitting right before a content patch is not usually advised because it might breathe a little bit more life back in or whatever. But the fact is that I didn't log in last week. I logged in once last week, actually, and I didn't cap my tomes. That's what I was going to say. But I logged in once last week. I think I can't even remember what I did a Ramu pony farm, and we got one pony. I didn't get it. But yeah, I did a Ramu pony farm. That was like the only thing I did that day, and that was last Tuesday, and I didn't log back in since. And on Saturday night, I cancelled my subscription, and that's it. I haven't logged back in since. I still have a couple of days left on it, but I just haven't logged back in at all, and I don't feel the need to. And because some people are going to say, oh, well, with a new patch less than a week away, it might reinvigorate you, give new stuff to do. This is where my biggest beef lies. 3.1, like 2.1, well, 2.1 was a little bit different, kind of, but you'll get, it'll all make sense now when I mention it, but 3.1 is going to be a catch-up patch. So, I mean, we all know Void Ark is coming out, and while I would like to do Void Ark, the problem is I would probably only do Void Ark once or twice a week. We're allowed to get a piece of gear from Void Ark once a week. Now the problem is, because it's a catch-up patch, that gear is most likely already going to be obsolete for my main class, which is Paladin, because my main Paladin is, I think he's like I-205 or something like that. It's 200 and something anyway, but you get the idea. For the most part, that gear is automatically obsolete for me, and because of that, that's useless. And at the same time, we all know it's going to drop what are they called? The upgrade items, the gobby upgrade items for your esoterics gear, which, yeah, okay, is a small enough upgrade, but you're looking at maybe, I think it's one a week, or depending on how they work, they might, some of them, like they said, a body piece ones, the left side main pieces, or the weapon stuff, might not be added for a few more weeks, or maybe you'll get 1 token a week, and maybe it'll take like 2 tokens to buy an accessory upgrade. It might take 4 tokens to buy a left side upgrade, or it might take like 5 or 6 tokens to buy a weapon upgrade. So it could be even longer, and all because of that, it's less for me to do. I mean, you can argue, it's like, well, you can farm that stuff and just get all that thing. If I'm gonna do like once or twice a week and still not give a shit about my esoterics or some of any of the other stuff that they're really adding, it's just not for me. And the fact that one thing that really annoys me as well is that they delayed the relics, or the whatever we call them mythic weapons. They delayed the mythics to 3.15 instead of 3.1 like originally, and I was really looking forward to doing that. And yeah, that's basically it. That's out the window, because that would be at some point in December most likely. Now, This video has gone on longer than I expected already, but I'm pretty much going to leave it at that. And I'm not saying I'm never going to resub to the game. I'm not doing it as a rage quit to, you know, say fuck this game, I'm unsub forever, piece of shit. I'm not doing that. It's just the game currently has nothing to offer me, and I don't feel like giving it my, well, I would say my time and money, but I don't feel like giving it my money if I'm not going to put the time into it, is how I'm saying it. Expect me to possibly come back at a later date if anything, you know, it changes in the approach and direction, and if anything actually looks good and important to me, I'll probably most likely come back. But the fact is that we're looking at about 3 or 4 months from an actual proper content patch, in my opinion, that would appeal to me, I should say. In my opinion, we're looking at 3 or 4, which would be 3.2. So that's going to be 3 or 4 months from now. So that will be the minimum I would most likely have to return for, if that's the case, because the whole 6 months between progressive content patches, it really hurts me on the on my particular interest on the game. So that's basically it. You're free to still like this game, you know. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It does have some questionable decisions. You can't really argue that, but you know, you're free to like the game and just keep going. If you want to play it and you still enjoy it, go ahead. I won't complain. It doesn't affect me that you like a different game that I don't like. Well, not that I don't like, but yeah, you get the idea. I'm rambling, so we'll move on from that and we'll just end the video. So let me know in the comments section below if you've played Final Fantasy XIV and what your opinion on the possible post Heavensward and catch up patch in general, and just the general feel and mood of the game, as well as yourself, if you have played it or know anyone that plays it, and what their opinion on it is, or your own opinion on it. So let me know all that in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter, details in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.